My pleasure to introduce our speaker for the evening. Tancredo is a former 5-term member of the U.S. House of Representatives, a former protest appointee, and presidential candidate who hails from Colorado. With his undeniable passion and resolve, the Congressman forced the issue of illegal immigration onto the national stage, often being referred to as Mr. Immigration. The Congressman has been featured on numerous media outlets from CNN to Fox, to various talk radio shows, providing thousands of interviews and inspiring him with fiery commentary. His best-selling book, In Mortal Danger, is recognized as the definitive work on the potentially disastrous effects of massive immigration without assimilation. The crisis mounts when what he calls the cult of multiculturalism infects our society with the virus known as the pursuit of diversity at all costs. So may good night. The Congressman has also been known not to shy away from other issues, especially when discussing the non-military threat posed to America by radical Islam. His message that Sharia law is inherently incompatible with the U.S. Constitution hit a note both here and abroad, where protests arose directly in response to the Congressman, who has the distinct honor to say he's been burned in effigy in Pakistan, even. The University of Chicago College Republicans, recognizing even the diverse array of opinions within our club on the issues being discussed tonight, we are proud to host the Congressman, and we ask that you welcome him.
Maybe I'll move around when I get antsy.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to join you, and it's certainly true that I was burned in effigy in Pakistan. There was a picture in the, I think it was Time magazine, I can't remember now.
That better? Okay. There was a picture in Time magazine, or one of them, and it was a picture of that event in Pakistan where I was being burned in effigy. And there was a somewhat humorous aspect to it, in that the sign said, "Death to Tancredo." Death was spelled wrong, but Tancredo was spelled right. Challenging, but... and it is true that the issue of immigration and immigration reform has been one that I have been championing for a long, long time. Certainly, even before I was in the Congress of the United States, I talked about it a lot because I believe it is a serious issue and needs the debate of a serious issue in our country. And for a long, long time, that debate, and even to a certain extent today, that debate has been quashed. It's interesting in that the last time I spoke, my son was a graduate of the University of Chicago Law School, and as I came in here, brought back a lot of memories, and started thinking about the last time I spoke at a law school. Oh, this isn't, but I know it's close. And the last time I spoke at a law school was at the University of Michigan. And there's some degree of irony in the fact that I spoke there and was prevented, actually, from speaking almost for 3 hours. It took us, I think, almost till midnight when I was able to finally speak. People kept pulling the fire alarms, throwing books that they had put on fire and stuff like that into the room. And I thought, and the irony was, of course, we were at the University of Michigan Law School. Law, you know? They hadn't gotten to, I guess, First Amendment yet. That was maybe the next semester. I don't know. But it's just amazing to me that, you know, that this issue, and it's certainly, I understand fully that it is a controversial one, that people are emotional about it. I know that. Certainly I have seen it and seen you know, been part of attempts to bring it to the attention of the general public, and there are a lot of concerns that this drives in the individuals, and I do appreciate that. And all I ask for is the ability to actually present one side of this issue, a side of the issue, and in a place like this is perfect. It is, of course, you know, a place we're supposed to be able to share in a sort of a marketplace of ideas. This is one. The idea is, from my point of view, that immigration in and of itself is neither bad nor good. It's a phenomenon. We have benefited and it has been problematic through our country's history. It is neither the great boon to America that it has been portrayed as, nor is it in and of itself a horrible thing, a dangerous thing. It is just something that happens, and there are, as I say, good and bad sides of it. I can remember my grandfather, who came over here when he was about 9 years old, and his parents had died, and he was sent over here. had no one here to meet him, could not speak English, was eventually taken by some lady to, she just signed for him to get from Ellis Island over to New York City, and then she said, good luck. He had a little tag on his coat that said, my name is Joe Tancredo, please send me to so-and-so in Iowa. And that was it. Well, of course, got off the boat, couldn't speak English, nobody there, and so this lady that he had come in contact with, whose children were in quarantine over in Ellis Island, she agreed to sign for him and get him over to New York City, at which time she said, hey Joe, good luck. I think Iowa's that way because the ocean's that way, and I'm not sure, but you're heading in the right direction, I think, just keep going. 2.5 years later, he got to Colorado. I remember him, and we used to talk and go over to his house on Sunday, and I'd say, Grandpa, what happened to Iowa? Because he talked about the trek in 2.5 years. He was never really walking alone, he said. There were always people coming across. This was about 1894, I think, to be exact. And he talked about the fact that this was an interesting 2-year trek and all the things that happened. I said, what happened to Iowa? And he said, well, I got here, I took one look at the Rocky Mountains. I said, if Iowa was past that, the hell with it. Now, I do not know to this day whether he just simply missed Iowa, and kept going and didn't know it, or whether he got there, didn't like it, and kept going. Now, I've been to Iowa a lot as a result of the presidential campaign with which I was involved. And, anybody here from Iowa? Well, good. Because in Iowa, I'm glad he kept going. I'll just put it that way. I'm glad he kept going to Colorado. It was great. But over time, of course, he became, and my other grandparents also came from Italy, and they went through the process that most people coming to this country went through, and it is one in which a lot of interesting things were going on. I mean, and by the way, it is also important to understand that immigration patterns in this country are not static. I mean, we don't just simply have a continual increase in immigration. The line isn't always going up. It is a cyclical process. It has been for our nation's history. Had periods of very high immigration, periods of very low. It didn't matter. I mean, things didn't fall apart. The world didn't come apart at the seams when we had, very low immigration to this country. A lot of interesting things happened, and certainly a lot of good things, as I said, happened in a high period. But it is not a constant phenomenon. And so you can look at the difference. You can see what is happening. And I will tell you that I believe that the periods of low immigration are important because it takes time to assimilate the people that come in periods of very high immigration. And so he and many others lived through the period of very high immigration at the beginning of that century, and were confronted with a kind of a dilemma. That was, what are you going to do here? Are you going, first of all, most of them came, not my grandfather, as I say, he had no choice, but my grandparents, the other three, absolutely did. They came when they were older, all of them looking for the thing that people today come to the United States for, a better life, a greater opportunity, and all the rest of it. But there was something else that seems to me to be observably true, especially listening to what they had to say at the time, listening to my grandparents talk about it. There was this very strong desire on the part of the people who came, for the most part, who came during that period of time, to become an American. And what did that mean? Well, a lot of things to a lot of people, but one thing it meant that they would separate themselves emotionally, politically, and even linguistically from the country of origin, and adopt the traditions of the country and the language of the country. That was a big thing with my family, especially. My grandmother, I can remember, Sundays, very typical, pick up my grandparents, go to Mass, go for a drive. That was a big deal, And then, I guess it would be still today, but it was a big deal. You go for a drive, and about 2 or 3 o'clock, you end up at Dairy Queen. This was the same every Sunday, same kind of, and almost inevitably about 3 o'clock, because my grandparents had been in the back seat and in close proximity to each other for a long time, they were going to be starting to fight, just about 2:30 or so. And one of them would yell, and my grandfather would lapse into Italian, and my grandmother would yell at him, "Speak American, damn it." And because that was, to her, it was more than just speaking American, there was another part of her saying, "Be Americanized."